Yeah. They think I'm mad. Nah,
I see
I'm
the
awake.
code.
Big bricks. Yeah. Is it you or yourself? Who talking when you melt? Is it truth or the image you felt? Is it you or yourself? Ego crying for help. I don't react, I observe, I step back. Is it you or yourself? Who loud when exposed? Who fold when the light get close? Is it you or yourself? Who loud when exposed? Who fold when the light get close? I see the thought, I don't chase it. I see the rage, I don't face plant. Mind trying to war with the mirror. Observers sitting adjacent. They emotional, trigger, they impatient. I be watching the panic is vacant. Truth don't yell, it just stand there. Ego scream when it can't fake it. Identity shaky, it cracking. Soon as the spotlight active, soon as the lies get questioned, now everybody get frantic. I ain't defensive, I'm present. I ain't offended, I'm conscious. If I can see the reaction, then I ain't trapped in the process. Is it you or yourself? Who talking when you melt? Is it truth or the image you felt? Is it you or yourself? Ego crying for help. I don't react, I observe, I step
I
back.
see the code.
Is it you or yourself? Who loud when exposed? Who fold when the light get close? Is it you or yourself? Who loud when exposed? Who fold when the light get close? Ancestors whisper in silence. Ego loud but it's fragile. Disconnected from Ori, that's why they acting so savage. They need crowds, they need praise, they need enemy stage. Truth come through, no protection, now it's smear rage. Engage, projection heavy, it's obvious. They bleed in public, it's comical. If the shoe fit, they stomping it. Observer calm, I'm bothered. I don't argue with chaos, I don't wrestle illusions. When awareness walk in the room, all a mass start lutra be. Who you are when nobody clapping? Who you are when the lies ain't landing? If truth make you feel attacked, that's ego dying, not damaged. Is it you or yourself? Who fold under pressure and tell? Is it soul or the image you sell? Is it you or yourself? Observer breaking the spell. Once I see it, I'm free as hell. I don't crash out, I clock patterns, I don't lose control, I gain vantage. Yeah, awareness over everything.
I see the code.
Title, they not wild like us.
Fight!
This for the ones who woke up mid-simulation. All praise to the one, I'm unplugged from the feed. Spiritual buffet, I don't starve my belief. Took the red pill, mental health finally free. Ask the universe to guard every part of me. Cut cords, no guilt, no shame, no fear. If it don't elevate it, don't stand near. Yeah, I walked through distortion, didn't live in a lie. Passed through bad code, never switched my design. Born in the dark, but I glowed on sight. Had shadows on me, but I chose my light. They confuse survival with becoming the beast. I observed the sickness, never caught the disease. They not wild like us, they not wild like us. They stuck in the code, yeah, they tied like us. I illuminate scripts, let the lies combust. Break free, break chains, yeah, we the resistance. They not wild like us, they not wild like us. They stuck in the code, yeah, they tied like us. I illuminate scripts, let the lies combust. Break free, break chains, yeah, we the resistance. I expose agents hiding behind fake love. Matrix masks on, but the truth push gloves. Negativity bait, that's a trap with a bow. Turn pain into power, I don't kneel, I don't bow. Centipede mindset, everybody attached. One head think form, that's a spiritual hack. I keep my soul sovereign, no hive, no leash. I don't merge with dysfunction, I don't feast on the weak. They want reaction, I want revelation. I don't argue with bots, I decode the manipulation. If the frequency low, I don't sit, I don't stay. If it ain't helping me rise, then get out my way. They not wild like us, they not wild like us. They trapped in the loop, yeah, they tied like us. I crack the illusion, watch the veil combust. Stand up, eyes open, we the resistance. Refuse the program. Protect your mind. freedom. Passion, love, passion, pain, passion. Nothing is true, access granted. Hello, Neo. Pull up to the Matrix in a spaceship. Can't think with the bots and the fake shit. Gotta stay pure, gotta stay patient. Having what they want cause a nigga ain't racist. When you need it most, that's when they start hating. Free your mind, yeah, free your mind. Yours ain't gotta be the same as mine, or mine ain't gotta be the same as yours. Passion, we're love. Passion, pain. Passion, nothing is true. Access granted. Hello, Neo. Passion, we're love. Hello, New York. Nothing is true. Access granted. Hello, New York. Passion, with love, passion, pain, passion, nothing is true, access granted. Hello, New York. Passion, with love, passion, pain, passion, nothing is true, access granted. Hello, New York.
They told me, pick a side, light or dark. But what if the truth is, you need both to see? I seen angels with egos, demons with discipline, like can be blind and dark, hold the vision and smile in the daylight. Cry when the moon rise, shadow behind me like you ain't immune, right? Balance ain't pretty, it's war in the mirror. Love and resentment, they sit a little nearer. Pray for the light, but I walk through the ashes. Truth ain't a halo, it's lessons and clashes. Yeah. Into the yang, I'm split in the middle. Dark in my heart, but I shine just a little. Can't have the sun if the night don't fall.
shadow, she said I'm your truth. You tried to bury me back in your youth. Every emotion you labeled as wrong turned into chains that you carry too long. Ego the villain, but also protection. Hate is a wound that ain't get affection. Light without dark is illusion and pride. Dark without light is where hope go to die. So I made peace with the war in my chest. Turned all my losses to part of my quest. Now when I speak, it's a code and a sound. Heaven and hell got the same battleground.
I am the storm and the calm and the sea. I am the lock and the key. I am the sinner and Satan entwined. I am the dark I designed, the light you see. Hate to the yang, I walk in between. Half of me wild, half of me clean. Can't kill the dark, gotta make it a line. That's how you step into divine, into the yang. I carry it all, rise from the light, learn from the fall. Balance the blade, don't sever your soul. You need the darkness to make you whole. Decode the darkness. That's where the light is born.
All right. Mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check. I'm gonna do a mic check. Ain't nobody in this bitch yet. So I'm going ahead and do my own mic check. Let's see. Mic check, mic check. Hey, I'm going ahead and do mic check, mic check. Yeah, I was like, ain't nobody in this bitch yet, boy. But it's all good. Please make sure to the playback game. Y'all make sure y'all please just like the video. And if you have any more hypes left over, make sure you use. I think you get like 3 a week. Just use one of your hypes. If you have any hypes left for the week, go ahead and just use it on your girl. I really appreciate it. And please hit that like button. That's the best way you can support me. But let's go ahead and get into it. I'm sorry I'm late. I had to reschedule. I fell asleep, overslept. I guess I really needed that nap. You got to start listening to your body. When your body say lay the fuck down, you got to lay the fuck down. So I was knocked out. I had me a big breakfast today. I cooked me a nice little breakfast on the truck today. And I've been sitting waiting for a load. No money came through today. Had to reject a load because I don't work for free. So here we are. All right. But let's go ahead and hold on. I gotta tell somebody. 1 sec. I forgot to tell somebody something. All right. All right. So yeah, no money coming through, so I don't work for free, so I had to reject the load. So it looked like it's 5 o'clock. Look like they ain't send me nothing today, so they know I usually don't work overnight unless the money's good. So I decided to go ahead and just do this video. I was gonna wait a couple of days to do this video, but I wanna be more consistent on putting more making more content like on a daily, like kind of like putting myself in the algorithm. The young man that I met yesterday low-key let me know that he came across my stuff because it was a YouTube suggestion. So I'm trying to get in good to YouTube's good graces and get into another algorithm so I can get out of the algorithm of the drama stuff that I've been into the last year, right? With that being said, I definitely want to say rest well to mentalizing rich. I think I seen Uppers live. I mean, not live. Her community post where she let me know that I think her name was Tia. Her real name is Tia, but I didn't know her like that. I barely knew her. I just interacted with her around the time Retta lost her one of her babies, and another one of her babies. Praying for you, Retta. Hope you're doing well. Um, I know there was some things that was said, but it not from me because I ain't have a problem with her or whatever. But things being said, emotions, and a lot of stuff that people got going on in their life. You just never know. People get caught up in stuff without fact checking, and it can be a lot. But one thing I'm very grateful, like I said in my community post, I'm very grateful to the creator above, from the universe, that me and Rich was able to make peace before she left, transition. Like I said, I don't know her. I don't know her situation. I don't even know how she passed or anything like that. But I'm glad the last time I interacted with her was on her live while she was dealing with some drama and negativity stuff. She addressed me and she apologized to me, right? And of course, I'm not a bitter person. I don't hold resentment, especially if I don't really feel like the whatever we you don't really agree with me about is personal. I don't hold stuff in my heart, like unless I know somebody is like blatantly trying to ruin me, right? Like people who the universe give me signs to stay clear of, right? But with Rich, she apologized to me. I accept her apology. I never had a problem with her in the beginning, so, in the first place. So I'm glad, like I said, I'm glad we was at peace when she passed, even though I don't know her. I don't like I can't give y'all a whole eulogy about her because I don't know her like that. I wish I would have got a chance to know her, being that her life you know, that her life was, I mean, everybody has an expiration date, y'all, like for real. And being that you never know when you're gonna pass away, being that she had, less time that because people think tomorrow's promise. I would have wished I would have got to know her in the time that she was here, right? But y'all know I believe in purpose and destiny. I used to go through a phase when I was a Christian where I feared death, right? I had death anxiety, but ever since I deconstructed from that religion, I no longer suffer from death anxiety. Death is a part of life, living, part of the process, and that I know that no matter what type of person you are, a Christian or non-Christian, black, white, rich or poor, if you are alive, anything that is alive here on earth will have to pass away. You have to die, right? It's part of the process. So I accepted that. And from what I'm gathering, just looking at other people community posts, I'm just grateful that like when you really think about the process of death, it eliminates the suffering. And I want sis to on the other side the rest well, be with your ancestors, however that works. Don't really know, right? Just speculating, and rest well. And I feel like from what I don't heard, you suffered enough, you endured enough, so you just rest up, sis. So R.I.P. to Rich, and my condolences to her family. And again, may the Creator comfort y'all heart, you know, because I'm no longer afraid of death. I used to be. I just one of those people that I have hope, like most of us do. Most of us would like to live to be an old age. I look forward to. I know some people fear it, but I look forward to it because I know how much I adore and love my grandparents, especially my grandpa, because he's the only one I have alive, right? And but my great aunts are amazing, right? So I look forward to just being the an elderly person in my family and just be there for my nieces and nephews, just be another parent for them, right? So I'm the world's greatest auntie. So I hope the universe wrote it in the stars for me that I can be the world's greatest auntie even at a older age, right? So I'm one of those people that I'm hoping is written in the stars that I pass away elderly, right? But unfortunately, for some reason down here, we don't know, right? Some of us do get little signs, but some of us don't. And accidents and diseases and unforeseen, unfortunate events happen. So we just try to live the life each day in the present, right? And try not to, you know, I don't know, like I guess before because I'm gonna go get into the show. One thing that I definitely hope a lot of people learn from Rich passing away is I think she knew, and I know that a lot of us do not want to pass away with this negative stuff on our name, like the drama, the saga, the beefing and stuff like that. And I don't get it twisted. It's some people from the saga, if they die, y'all ain't gonna hear me say anything, right? Because I hate them. I don't like them, right? I ain't gonna say nothing bad, but I ain't gonna sit up here and act like I care, like because I know vice versa, they wouldn't care if it was my turn, right? But I hope that there's some people like myself when I kept telling everybody why I wanted to walk away from the drama and get away from the negativity and stuff like that. You remember I kept telling y'all I'm not finna die doing this. I don't know if any of my supporters in here or whatever, y'all don't heard me say this numerous times when I kept promising y'all that this was the last video about negativity. I'm not gonna address evil twin again. I'm just gonna expose her and keep it moving. I'm not gonna die doing this back and forth with these, but I ignore them. They still be trying to say little slick shit to get me going. I was in somebody else's live and she didn't like that I was encouraging one of my friends to get away from the negativity, and she thought I was throwing the attack at her even though I wasn't. But even when I felt like she was trying to bait me into something, I was like, I ain't falling for that either. I'm not beefing with nobody else again from that saga. You feel what I'm saying? Because I'm not dying doing that negative shit. I'm gonna pass away doing what I'm doing today, teaching and encouraging people to look outside themselves. You know, I believe that the inner God is inside you, but also look outside yourself, because the world is like, the world is a beautiful place. Besides the suffering, the world is a beautiful place, and there's so much knowledge and wisdom that you can gain here before it's time for you to transition on the other side. You get what I'm saying? I just tell people to just live, right? Live, not close minded, but think outside the box. You know what I'm saying? So this is what, when it's time for me to transition, this is what I'm gonna be doing, teaching the people, not tearing down other black women, not faking it, be a part of no fake ass religion that I know I really don't believe in, not cursing people's children. Like, I'm not doing that. So I'm glad that Rich and her, even though she had to deal with some negativity in her last days, I from what I understood, she like was saying she ain't finna engage, like she was getting away from the shit, right? And then I seen Miss was Ross in here. Ross said she was so sweet. You know, I take your word for it, ma'am, because you know I ain't really know her like that. You get what I'm saying? I just know that she was nice to me until she thought I did something shady, and then it later found out that I didn't do anything shady, right? And then once she calmed down and all the stuff is happening, and she seen how I responded to her, like, I'm not finna go back and forth with you. I heard what you said about me, but I'm not even responding because it's not true, right? But she apologized to me, so in my heart, I mean, we good. You know what I'm saying? So the short time I got to interact with her, you know, the impression she left on me and the impression I left on her while she transitioning, she good on my book, in my book, right? And I was good in hers. But for the family, that people who and her friends that truly loved her, I just hope that, you know, if y'all, you know, taking this loss, I mean, any loss is hard, but if this one's really, really a tough one for you, I just pray that the creator, whatever your religious system belief you believe in, it comforts you, right? Because, you know, mourning is suffering, right? Because when my friend passed away a few years ago from cancer, that was tough on me on here, y'all. I ain't gonna forget that. So, all right, so let's get into the live. So we gonna talk about the what it. I want to make sure I say this right. The Pirahã tribe. I actually just recently came across this information, maybe a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I was supposed to do a live, but I pushed it off and wound up doing the other live, right? But I just thought this story was very interesting. Y'all know my little nerd senses and geek. I was like very intrigued and very interested and wanted to explore more about this story about a man named Daniel Everett. I think his name Everett. Um, about this ex Christian, ex missionary who went into the Amazon, you know, went to Brazil, went deep into the Amazon and tried to minister, you know, to the gospel of Jesus Christ to this tribe, right? Called the Pirahã, Pirahã people. And they completely rejected it, right? And the way they rejected it, it wasn't even on no emotional or you know, nothing crazy. It was a logical explanation. Like a one question. They asked this man one question, and based off of the one question, they completely rejected it. And I just sit up here and thought, like, when people sit up here and try to measure intelligence based off of modern technology and modern civilization, like, versus people making fun of people who live in huts and tribes and people who still live a more nomadic life, hunter gathering life. It kind of helped me understand how intelligence like really work, and it ain't got nothing to do with if a person is civilized, right? Because I measure your intelligence based off of how well you can critically think. And I was just so impressed about finding a indigenous group that they are strictly about evidence based, right? They whole philosophy or principle, the way they live their life, is about like living off of evidence. Like they just don't believe anything you tell them. And that man, when he was trying to minister the story of Jesus Christ to these people, he couldn't nobody can convert them. They are not interested in the gospel of Jesus Christ. And it remind me of a scripture. Let me see if I'm thinking of this scripture right. It's a scripture in the Bible where it says everyone has the inner knowledge or the revelation of God or Jesus in their heart or whatever. Like there that no man won't be without excuse. Let me see something. Let me get this verse. Even though it's clearly a lie, because the Pirahã is an example how this scripture is not true. Um, all right, so there's a scripture that says, it's Romans, because I remember it, I thought about it. I couldn't remember the whole thing verbatim, but I remember the concept. And it says, for the creation of the world, the invisible thing of him are clearly seen, being understood through the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so they are not without excuse, right? And I was taught that that verse was teaching people that every man has this, the God spirit, right? His, your soul and your spirit is like different, right? But there is it's something in your spirit that when you hear the gospel of Jesus Christ, it's either you're going to accept it or you're going to reject it, and no man won't be out excuse, because you kind of like, they trying to say that everybody knows that Jesus is Lord, or or the God of the Bible is the God of the universe. They try to say it's an internal thing, that when somebody denies the gospel, they suppressing those feelings, right? That no man won't be like, God is going to reveal himself to that individual through whatever means he chooses to do it, and it's either they're going to accept it or reject it. Now I know that the shit is bullshit, now that that verse is clearly not true, because even with the Pirahã, they had no reason to like reject God or that God when they never heard of it, right? They had they don't even have a concept of a supreme God in their own belief system, right? So with me, they completely rejected the Jesus. It's because of lack of evidence, right? The reason why I'm rejecting, right, because of lack of evidence, right? But theirs was just simple, right? They went off. They asked Daniel, did you see him? Did you ever meet this man? And he was like, no. Did your daddy see him, or somebody saw him? And it was the way they was questioning this man. And at the end, they basically was like, what the hell are you telling us about this dude? We don't care. Like we not afraid to die. We not needing for nothing. And that these people are very content with how they live their life. They are known for being one of the happiest tribes that people come across. Now it's not that much footage, like, because I'm telling you, I went looking. I said, let me find these people, right? Because I remember I used to study the San people and the Aboriginals of Australia, and I was like, damn, let me go see what's up with the Pirahã people. Like, why they just rejected Jesus off top? They wasn't even trying to hear the shit, right? And it's because they didn't need anything for the white man. They didn't care about any gifts that the white man was willing to give them, and they didn't care about no mansion and no sky daddy. It was like they live in the present, and they was like, they have no need for this God. So, and if you ain't never seen him, we don't. Most likely to us, it's just as if he didn't exist. So it was deep, right? The Pirahã God concept only spirits that inhibits the certain forms of nature. That's true. I saw that when I looked that up, right? You said, I don't know who you're speaking of, but you rest in the power. It's somebody from a sect that I was in. So you said it's pronounced Pirahã. All right, Pirahã. All right, so hopefully I'm saying that right, Pirahã. But I'm gonna be playing videos so y'all can get the correct pronunciation. So, because it's not that much footage out there, because the Brazilian South America government, like in Brazil, and they really strict about this group of people being filmed. They don't just let anybody. They're very protected tribal people. Like, they really protecting these people, right? And they're not afraid of anything. They wasn't afraid of no wars or nobody fighting. They don't even fight or whatever. They were known for just being the happiest people. They live their day by day. They don't store up food. They don't, Like they not even hunter gatherers. They hunters but not gatherer. Each day they when it's time to eat, they go out into the forest and the forest provide them their meal. Right? So they have no need to pray to a god, make grieving images, and get favor because everything they need is in this jungle and they are happy. It's plentiful, right? And they live a very I do what I want lifestyle. People are not allowed to tell each other what to do. They don't beat their kids. I said, wow, another tribal group that I keep telling y'all, as much as they want to refer to these people who live in these third world countries or live I'm trying to think of what's the word, because I know they call us civilized, but I don't want to disrespect them and say anything, but live a life that's not how we live in modern times. That as much as they want to say these people savages, well, over here in this damn country, people beat they goddamn kids all the time, white or black, right? But over there, they don't even believe in beating their kids. And I even tried to tell y'all, even those like myself who believe that we are descendants of African slaves from the west coast of Africa, in the area that we lived in, we didn't beat our kids because we believed that they were returning ancestors, right? So you didn't beat them like people beating the shit out of their kids today. I thought that that was very nice and showed you the characteristics of this people, and they are very very beautiful people when you the little footage that I was able to find on them. But I was amazed that they didn't even beat their kids, right? So it is, and then I downloaded his book, and I'm actually going to do probably more videos based off of what I learned about his book, because Daniel Everett is a linguist, and I think his story is just amazing. This is unique, and I'm surprised it's not as popular as I think it should be. It's one of the most underrated stories, especially for those who are into deconstructing or showing evidence of groups rejected Jesus and why they rejected. And I just, like I said, I'm gonna play a couple of clips from different channels. I was able to find some information. I'm gonna definitely play the video that how I came across this story. Um and then I'm gonna dive more into whatever I got from Chat GPT, and I think I'm gonna call the live. So, but I first came across this story on, it was this guy page, his name, and mind you, it was like hardly nobody else made a video. It's this genetically modified skeptic. It's his page, a very popular page. I don't seen a lot of video of his videos. He does good work, very smart, intelligent guy, right? Very articulate, right? Videos really be, to the point. So I'm gonna actually drop. What's up, Queen Ye? I'm gonna actually drop a. This is the full video in his channel, so y'all can go see. Y'all can see for yourself. Don't tell me why my video keep doing that. Hold on, y'all. Video always going out. I don't know. This thing happened again when my video went out. So I'm trying to make sure that the link go through? Alright, I guess it did. Oh, it did go through. Alright, so I dropped the link. What's up, Ivan? So, but yeah, y'all definitely check out his channel. And we gonna watch some of the video. I'm not gonna play the whole thing, but I'm gonna play a good little portion of it. The name of the video is called "Why Christianity Hates Indigenous People," and well, I understand why they do now, especially the Pirahã, right? Pirahã, especially them, because they shut that shit down, and I love it, right? And I love it. These people, when I say these people are free, they are free indeed. They is not worried about they need some salvation, they need saving, they've pissed off God, and They ain't got no concept of that shit because they are well taken care of. The jungle provides everything that they need. So I just thought it was amazing. It's a beautiful story, man. And like I said, and then this is a part that I forgot to mention, that Daniel, Daniel Everett, who went to go minister to these people when he learned their language and their culture, they're the reason why he's an atheist to this day, y'all. Their skepticism about Christianity led to him deconverting and then deconstructing. Right? I thought that was a powerful testimony of how a person can go atheist when they hear another person's perspective of why they are rejecting their religion. I just thought that was amazing. So I said, oh wow, this dude turned into an atheist, went straight atheist, even wound up losing his marriage, wound up getting a divorce, all that. Marriage fell apart, all because he couldn't deny. He couldn't deny anymore once, the Pirahã people taught him how to critically think. You said, what you said? You said Matt DeHalty spoke about the Pirahã people when when came on his channel saying everyone has a God concept. Well, yeah, I haven't watched them people stuff in a while, so thank you for sharing that with me, but I don't know what they got going on. I haven't watched any content from anybody over there. I went and checked out Killer Priest on one of his lives, or I'm gonna do a video. Just go ahead and put the word out there, just in case if you know. But I'm gonna do a review video of Nathalie on the Killer Priest, and I'm gonna be criticizing her presentation on that man's channel, because I was looking through them comments and I was like, y'all just let this girl get away with a lot of stuff without challenging it. And I'm gonna be challenging a lot of stuff, but I'm gonna schedule that video, but I'm gonna do a good review on that one. So make sure you tune in for that. So, but appreciate you giving me the info. But yeah, I haven't watched what the House of Conscience. I ain't even been over there. I've just been waiting for y'all to tell me that Sodom passed away. To be honest with you, I just haven't been over there. I don't have no reason to watch, so I'm just not interested in their stuff anymore. So Queen Ye said, listen, you all go to Hulu and watch The Fall of Nature Boy, and email Neo if you would like for her to do a show about it. It's how religion and cults get people traumatized. All right, Queen Ye, that was a nice suggestion. Appreciate that. But yeah, I actually, like I said, I've covered Nature Boy in the past. I didn't go into much depth about him, just mostly talked about him being a perv. Right? Anybody who tell you that they're going to be naked around your kids and you don't give them the permission to do that. And with today's society, we don't want people naked around our kids because a lot of people are perverted and grew up perverted. But yeah, that's a good idea, Queen Ye. Thank you for that. But all right, so let me go ahead and get into this video so we can talk about because I just thought this just like, I was just intrigued. I was like, dang, I got to learn more about these people. Let me see what else. I wanted to learn more about Daniel's story, right? So I downloaded this book. I downloaded it on Audible so I can hear it. I'm going to listen to it the next time I get a load and I'm going to be driving all day. I'm going to listen to it. But again, the name of this channel, this video belongs to Genetically Modified Skeptic, and the name of the video is called Why Christians Hate Indigenous People. Check him out. Good dude. Hope he don't strike me, even though I'm going to do the best I can to keep this under fair use. But hopefully he seemed like a good dude, so I'm not worried about copyright. So let's just see. But this video is covered under fair use.
In 1977, Christian missionaries Daniel and Karen Everett ventured into the Amazon rainforest with their 3 children in tow and one big goal: translating the Christian Bible for a small, deeply isolated
My bad,
In
y'all.
1977, Christian missionaries Daniel and Karen Everett ventured into the Amazon rainforest with their 3 children in tow and one big goal: translating the Christian Bible for a small, deeply isolated indigenous community of hunter-gatherers called the Pirahã and converting them to Christianity. This would be difficult. Not a single Pirahã had ever been converted, and it wasn't for missionaries' lack of trying.
The Protestant missionaries that had succeeded me.
Now pay attention. Not a single Pirahã, not a single one has ever been converted. Not one. And it's not from their lack of trying. People have tried. But again, what was amazing that when Daniel went over there and tried, Daniel wound up becoming an atheist, right? So even though he was trying to save their soul, right, they wound up saving him from that bullshit, believing in fairy tales. So
They started working with him in 1959. The first team with Wycliffe Bible Translators, which was the mission I was with, worked from 1959 to 1967. The next team worked from 1967 to 1976, and then I came in 1977. And they had had absolutely no results whatsoever. I read also the account of the first Catholic missionaries that worked with them in 1784, which abandoned them after just a couple of years as the most recalcitrant people they had ever encountered in the entire Amazon.
No Westerner had ever managed to learn the notoriously difficult Pirahã language, which, in addition to developing in isolation from
difficult language, again, people gave up on them. Now, you know me being an A, well, sometimes I can be an a-hole when I'm criticizing the religion, and I don't mean to do it. Sometimes I just do it just to point out the common sense of it, right? If I was there and being a skeptic, I would have remind those religious people who was over there trying to force their religion on a group of people that seem like they're doing just fine without their God, right? You guys just think that they're going to, when they die, they're going to go to hell, and all the people that lived before them and their ancestors are burning in hell because they died without Jesus. I would have had remind them, there is plenty of testimonies of missionaries who claim that when they go into these villages and talk to people, that they get the gift of the Holy Spirit that helps them speak in the language of these people so they can understand. And sometimes the God uses that as a sign to help these people convert, right? You speak it in foreign tongues and foreign language. I used to hear that bullshit testimony from a lot of different churches. Even one of the last mega churches I was a part of. He keep bragging about when he went over to some country, didn't speak their language, but the Holy Spirit came over them and he was able to speak their language and convert them over to believing in Jesus, right? So he say, they always try to make it seem like it's that easy, right? But with these people, the Pirahã people, they couldn't convert not one person to believe this religion, right? And where's the testimony of the Holy Spirit helping them minister to these people, right? Because I say that's supposed to be biblical. Y'all supposed to be able to speak these people tongues so they would convert. That's supposed to be one of the signs, right? But these people are completely, when I say they're completely not interested and they completely rejected Jesus, I see why the person who made this video entitled the video, Why Indigenous People Hate on Christianity, right? I put the name, why did the Pirahã reject Jesus, right? Because that's who they gave the kill shot question to, right? But I just thought that was very interesting. There is no supernatural, spooky, divine story of Jesus, the Holy Spirit falling upon these missionaries to do some type of miracle or sign to get these people to convert, that their religion, that Christianity is the correct religion, and that their souls are in danger of eternal fire, and the God's will is no will for no man to perish, right? The Pirahã people ain't trying to hear that shit. They didn't care.
from the rest of the world is also tonal, meaning the pitch of a word can impact its meaning. Daniel believed God had called him to the Pirahã, though, so he was totally confident that he would be able to meet the challenge and give them the greatest gift anyone could ever offer: the saving message of the gospel.
I was going to tell them about the fact that they don't need to fear death, that they're going to go to heaven after they die, and contribute my life in exchange for their happiness.
Everett describes the Pirahã as a peaceful, non-hierarchical community of hunter-foragers who take survival on a day-to-day basis. They share resources freely, keep few personal possessions, and, by choice, don't even store food or build complex shelters. He estimates that they spend about 15 hours a week working. That sounds nice. They live simply, but don't suffer from this way of life at all, according to Everett. He said that in the 7 years he lived with them, he doesn't think he ever saw a Pirahã adult miss a shot with their bow while hunting. Not once. They are apparently so incredibly skilled, and the land they live on so rich, that they don't see a point in working more than they do, and would rather just spend time hanging out and joking around with their friends. And as soon as Daniel began living with them, they apparently started joking around with him too.
Later that day,
Y'all remember I shared a story with y'all. The only time that I ever was that I felt like jealous of another individual, when I told y'all the story of one day when I was passing by a homeless man. Well, I think he was homeless. I'm not really sure. He just looked like he was homeless. That it was this guy who appeared to look homeless, who was sitting up under a tree, a shade. It was in Florida, in Jacksonville, sitting up under a tree, a shade, and he had like a beer in his hand. He was relaxed against the tree, and you could just tell he was so at peace and didn't have a care in the world. Right, just enjoying nature, enjoying the scenery. He even saw me looking over at him, because I'm like, man, I would love to like just not care about bills, but I'm out here working. As I was watching him, I was actually working when I was getting out of the car to go get my next passengers and stuff. I was just like, damn, bro, like this dude look like he ain't stressed about shit. And I'm up here working for money, and so I can pay bills, and I have to come up with a certain money every month. I have to pay a subscription to fucking live civilized in this country, and I'm stressed the fuck out. And then I seen the man sitting up there looking at. I said, he don't look like he ain't worrying about no bills, no car payment, no food. He was just in that moment enjoying his drink, and he was relaxed. Right. So with the Pirahã people, like the guy said, it's estimated that these people only probably work about 15 hours a week, right? They spend most of their time just enjoying their life, enjoying their community, hanging out with their friends, their family, and exploring the jungle, I guess. But they don't build complex structures. Like he said, like I think I seen an interview where Daniel said that they laugh when the wind blow down their house, right? If a storm blow down their house, they just gather their stuff and go to their friends or their neighbor house, and they laugh and joke about it. They don't even spend time to make solid structures or homes, right? Because they just gonna rebuild. They just that relaxed. So I know these people living a long time. Stress ain't killing them, and they're happy. They're not sitting up here, how we are in the Western society, right? Or the European mindset, obsessed with material things and money and capital and greed, and, doing things for the TikTok, and we got to be better than the Joneses, or we judge each other by the value of our possessions, or how much money, or what classism we have in society. There's a tribal group of people who's living off the land, living off nature, don't give a fuck about no supreme God or whatever, and they're happy. And they have way less than we do materially, but they're very rich in spirit. They're very wealthy compared to us. We suffer a lot here. We stress. Hell, reason why I'm out here trying to be an entrepreneur, because when I was out there clocking in and out of somebody's clock, I seemed like I couldn't get ahead. So now, being inspired by the internet sister Jeannie, I decided to go and become a contractor for a company, right? Trying to make a little extra money, and it's been a little. I ain't finna act like I want y'all to act like I'm out here getting rich and paid yet. That hasn't happened yet, but I'm projected. I'm getting there, because there's some days I am working for free, right? It's just yesterday and today ain't gonna be one of those days. So some days I do push this truck and I ain't making nothing but enough to cover my expenses, right? But just stress. I'm trying to reduce stress, right? Focus on what I like doing the most. Rather do a video talking to 7 people than do a video where I'm trashing and tearing down and dragging and beefing and having 100 people in here. Y'all remember what I told y'all? I would be happy with just 7, 8, 5, 3, 1. If it was one person, I would still do this damn video. right? Because there's more to life than, the validation of others. You really need to learn how to live for yourself. And the Pirahã people seem to understand that. They ain't interested in being no servant for Jesus or serving the people outside their world. They just, hey, everything's chilled here. We vibe. We got everything. We ain't worrying about it. I think they're a cool minded set of people. I wish I could meet them, right? But I just love that, living in the present. It remind me of the Buddhist teachings that I came across when I was studying Buddhism, right? Just living in the present. These people do not care about building no temples or no church for no God, or that they just enjoy life. They know they exist. They know they procreate. They have their children. They feed their kids. The kids grow up. They live life, and they just happy. Imagine your life is just one big vacation, living off the land. Oh boy, I would love that. I would give all this up to live that peacefully. I would. So no stress, cause baby, bills, bills, bills in this white man's country.
Day when I was putting mustard that I had brought from the city on a bologna sandwich, you can see I was adapting very slowly. A woman came up behind me and she said, "Look, Dan's eating bird shit." And I looked at the sandwich. You can see I was adapting very slowly.
Just spend time hanging out and joking around with their friends. And as soon as Daniel began living with them, they apparently started joking around with him too.
Later that day, when I was putting mustard that I had brought from the city on a bologna sandwich, you can see I was adapting very slowly. A woman came up behind me and she said, "Look, Dan's eating bird shit." And I looked at the mustard and listened to the sound, and I could see where she got that impression.
As Everett learned their language, he began realizing how unique it really is. They don't have specialized words for greetings, colors, or numbers. That's a little bit hard to fathom for me. Pirahã discourse centers around asking for and giving information in structurally straightforward sentences. Their language developed to convey direct and literal knowledge, and therefore lacks words to describe many abstract concepts. Their grammatical structure excludes past and future tenses, which Everett says is compatible with their cultural focus on the day-to-day. And while they enjoy storytelling, the Pirahã don't engage with fictional narratives. They place such importance on experience and evidence that to even make a claim in the Pirahã language, one must include a citation within the grammar of the sentence.
Well, Pirahã, like many American Indian languages, has a very complex verbal system. So Pirahã has 16 different suffixes that can go at the end of a verb. That gives 2 to the 16th power possible verb forms, and that's a lot. That's more than 40. And of those things, 3 suffixes are very important, and those tell you how you got your evidence. So every verb has to have on it the source of the evidence. Did you hear about it? Did you see it with your own eyes? Or did you deduce it from the local evidence? So if I say, "Did John go fishing?" They can say, "John went fishing hiai," which means I heard that he did. Or they can say, "John went fishing sibiga," and that means I deduced that he did. Or they can say, "John went fishing ha," and that means I saw it. He went. In some respects, they're the ultimate empiricists.
Yeah, you can probably see where this is going. How exactly do you share the gospel, which is predicated on abstract concepts like sin and inherited guilt and penal substitutionary atonement, if the people listening don't care about abstractions? How do you even tell them the story of the supposed death and resurrection of Jesus 2,000 years ago, as written anonymously in an ancient language which only made it to you through a chain of endless translation and copying, if you have to give clear and direct citations for everything you say? Well, when Daniel gained enough Pirahã language skills to try, things didn't work out the way he wanted.
When you show...
I thought that's very interesting that within their language, that their concept, the way they speak, they want things to be as absolute as possible. Like in their context, you will know if you understand their language, if they're telling you that they heard this was said, someone that person saying they saw it, or they concluded that this what was going on based off of the evidence that they gathered, right? It doesn't leave room for speculation, right? It's a very direct conversation. I just like, dang, I think that's kind of unique, right? In that the way that I hope, I can't remember if he plays it or if I'm gonna have to play it in another clip. The way that they question this man when it came down to believing in Jesus, it just made me laugh, because I was like, dang, that is a skeptic mind, right? And that, and even in their concept, the way they live, they be like, well, how do you know it's true? Just like if you watch my video yesterday when I was trying to get the young man who came and hit my live to really critically think and hear my question that I was asking him, when I kept saying, how do you know that this is true? You keep saying this the word of the Most High, but how do you know that? You're citing the Bible, right? A translation of a translation, a copy of a copy. And I just wanted him to know that he cannot claim that as absolute true, because first of all, you don't even have the original manuscript of those writings. Nobody does. Not one. That is a red flag, right? You're going by hearsay. But in the Pirahã tribe, they don't do that. They want you to cite your source within the statement of when you make a claim, so they can judge where the author, if they're going to believe that statement is true or not. You're giving a testimony that you saw it, that you heard someone said they saw it, right? Or by the clues you gathered around you, you concluded this was what happened. But it was based off of the evidence, not something you just assuming without evidence. I just think, and I get it now why they tried to teach these people the gospel, they didn't want to hear that, because you got to have a very good imagination to believe in it. That's why they condition us as children to accept that religion, right? Most of grown adults, like the Pirahã tribe, and a lot of people don't convert over to it. It takes a minute. It has to be forced, like how my people has to be. We have to be enslaved and then beat it. They had to beat the religion into us for us to believe it, right? But most other places where these people tried to go, where their country is not colonized, or the number one religion is not Christianity, adults reject these stories off top. But with other people, they have to condition them. They have to groom them in hope that they have an imagination. The Pirahã clearly don't. He said they might tell stories for entertainment, but they don't go too far into making up embellishes stories, fictional stories. Because I remember the first time I heard the gospel of Jesus Christ, I was like 5 or 6 years old. I heard it and I believed it. And my source was my great grandfather, right? So, and he was a trusted source because he was an authority figure in my life, right? I knew him better than I knew my dad at the time. Before I knew him, right? I knew my great granddaddy more than I knew my dad. So it was wow. But he the one who taught me Jesus, and I believed him.
Show them these things and you tell them what you believe, they believe you've got some reason for saying it. So you tell them
the supposed death and resurrection of Jesus 2,000 years ago, as written anonymously in an ancient language which only made it to you through a chain of endless translation and copying. If you have to give clear and direct citations for everything you say, well, when Daniel gained enough Pirahã language skills to try, things didn't work out the way he wanted.
When you show them these things and you tell them what you believe, they believe you've got some reason for saying it. So they came around and a group of men at this other village said, Dan, so tell us a little bit more about Jesus. Is he brown like us, or is he white like you? And how tall is he? And what sorts of things does he know how to do? Does he like to hunt and fish and stuff, or what does he do? And I said, well, I don't know what color he is. I never saw him. You never saw him? No. Well,
that's funny.
Your dad saw him then, because you can give information that was told to you by somebody who was alive at the time. And I said, no, my dad never saw him. They said, well, who saw him? And I said, well, they're all dead. It was a long time ago. Why are you telling us about this guy? If you never saw him and you don't know anyone who ever saw him, and those are the two basic forms of evidence for the Pirahã, why would you tell us about him? We don't want to hear about this. So then I translated and I paid a Pirahã to repeat after me on the tape the Gospel of Mark. So I did translate the Gospel of Mark, and I had this Pirahã guy saying it, and it sounded pretty natural. We had a little music to it, hand crank tape recorder, and I gave it to them. And I sat around with a group of men around the fire, and they're playing this.
Now notice the trick that he said that he had to add a little music to it. He had the they translated the Gospel of Mark, right? The oldest one, the one that I keep telling people that clearly a lot of things that people believe are not in Mark. I think Mark is a very vague gospel, right? Don't go into too many details, and even in the book of Mark, if I'm not mistaken, there is no I think after Jesus died and the women went to the tomb and saw that he rose from the dead, there ain't no more interactions after. That's how that chapter ends, with the women running from the tomb when they saw it was empty and they told nobody. So Mark ain't going to how the other gospels are, how Jesus walked around and I will return and blah blah blah, whatever. But you see how he mentioned that they even put music. And I just love the way that he was saying how they was complete skeptics by saying, okay, well, what does this guy look like? Right? I don't know. Some people say he looked like me, maybe look like you. No, I haven't seen him. Well, your daddy must have seen him. Nah, my dad ain't seen him. He, who saw him? Well, no, everybody who saw him is dead. It's 2,000 years ago. Like, tell it's of 2,000. And mind you, this tribe of people, they don't even. I think, if I'm not mistaken, when I was doing some of the research, they don't even have the concept of counting numbers. They go by a sum, a few, many. They count like that. So 2,000, saying 2,000 years to them don't mean shit to them. They don't have a concept of that. But I love how he said that one of the guys was like, well, why is you telling us about a person who lived 2,000 years ago? If nobody's seen him and he's not even, you don't know what he looked like, we can't talk to him. Like, I just thought it was funny because it's simple, basic questions that dismantle the whole faith. Like, come on, y'all. Y'all believing in something that with no evidence, and these people who live in the jungle sitting up here looking at you crazy, like, well, why would you believe in that? Like, if you don't have evidence that it's true. And then, they was just not interested. I thought that was just funny. But I'm glad that Daniel admit that they was even trying to use work music into trying to get these people, to play on their emotion to accept the gospel.
And they're understanding it. I know they're understanding it because they're asking questions. And they say, who's talking on this tape? Sounds like Pehuatai. And I said, it is Pehuatai. And they said, he doesn't believe this stuff. And he never saw Jesus either. So that was the end of it. But
You might have noticed a familiar name on the podium in some of these clips. It's the
I said, it is Pehuatai. And they said, he doesn't. I translated and I paid a Pirahã to repeat after me on the tape the Gospel of Mark. So I did translate the Gospel of Mark. And I had this Pirahã guy saying it, and it sounded pretty natural. We had a little music to it, hand crank tape recorder, and I gave it to them. And I sat around with a group of men around the fire, and they're playing this. And they're understanding it. I know they're understanding it because they're asking questions. And they say, who's talking on this tape? Sounds like Pehuatai. And I said, it is Pehuatai. And they said, he doesn't believe this stuff. And he never saw Jesus either. So that was the end of it. But
You might have noticed a familiar name on the podium in some of these clips. It's the Freedom from Religion Foundation. Daniel Everett spoke at the FFRF National Convention back in 2009, and I'm fortunate to be able to use video of his talk here thanks to FFRF. And you know who's speaking at the FFRF National Convention in 2026? Me. This year's convention is October 16th through the 18th at the Baird Center in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I know it's still a few months away, but this is a big opportunity for me, and I'm just too excited not to share this. If you're somehow not aware yet, the Freedom from Religion Foundation is a national church-state watchdog which protects Americans from unconstitutional religious privileging. They defend our rights to the freedom of and from religion always. Right now, that especially means fighting the pervasive threat of Christian nationalism. We need nonprofits like them now more than ever. I became a member back in 2018 when I attended my very first FFRF conference, and I've remained a member ever since because they so consistently stand up for human rights and fight religious overreach in our government. Go become a member right now and support their expert legal team. The link is in the description and pinned comment. Thank you very much.
I'm actually going to go when I get a chance to go look into it because I'm familiar with the group. I think the guy name is Dan Baker or Barker, the person who's running it now. I enjoy it. I don't seen a couple of his debates where he completely demolished people that he was debating. I learned a lot from Dan. I think his name Dan Barker. Baker. I think it's Barker. Dan Barker. I learned a lot from him. So when I get a chance, I kept saying I'm gonna go to the website to see what the organization has to offer, probably support, probably send a couple of dollars or whatever, um, and see what's up. Because at the end of the day, I think organizations like that are very important. And see what's dang, my audio went out. I don't know what happened. My audio went out, but to see what's up with them, to see what they into, because people like them should be able to protect us from the government when certain laws and stuff that are being passed because of people basing their trying to push the Bible, put the Bible back into school, or uh even certain laws that they coming up with, even like pro-choice and all that. They basing it off of their religious beliefs. And if we in a country that's a free country, we have the freedom to engage in whatever religion that we choose to. The federal state stuff should be different from. It should be church and state should be separate. Religion and law should be separate, but unfortunately, you have people who like to pretend to be Christians just so they can get political things that they want done, so they can fill their pockets up and be rich, make money, become rich. Unfortunately, they take advantage of the Christian faith to get their own political agendas done. So, and that organization, from what I heard, they do a good job pushing back on when people be trying to force religion into public schools or, into different types of communities. Hold on, y'all. 1 second. I had to go turn this off real quick. There you go.
Very much for sponsoring this video, FFRF. Reading your regular newsletter as a member gives me a lot of hope, and a lot of us need that right now. So y'all go click the link below and become a member too. They definitely deserve it. All right, so Everett found that not only would they ignore him when he talked about Jesus, but the Pirahã didn't have a creation story or a concept of God. They're just like me, for real. These things were not relevant to immediate experience and couldn't be empirically evidenced, so they weren't of any use. The Pirahã didn't ignore the spiritual realm entirely, though. They actually reported encountering spirits taking natural forms, like that of a jaguar or a tree, or a shape-shifting dolphin sometimes, but these were things they thought they had actually directly experienced. Now, maybe a little bit of a hot take here, I actually think that a claim of encountering a shape-shifting dolphin is less grandiose than a claim of encountering God, the creator of the universe, the supreme being. Because if you encounter a dolphin, which you perceive to be shape-shifting, and describe it as such, I can at least believe that that is an experience that you can have, that you are capable of reporting, right? Now, if you have an encounter with a burning bush, or a disembodied voice, or a thing in a dream, and you claim that that was God, the creator of the universe, the supreme being, how am I to believe you when the thing that you're reporting to have seen, God, has a nature which is like definitionally completely beyond your own understanding? So yeah, I'd be more likely to believe the shape-shifting dolphin thing. Everett's inability to provide the level of evidence which the Pirahã needed to believe the gospel.
Yeah, I kind of understand what he was trying to say with that, because we know that dolphins exist. We know that the human beings exist, other creatures. So when people say that they might have seen something, when they witness maybe of shape-shifting animals, we have plenty of different religions and cultures that claim shapeshifters. Like that's actually, especially in the American Indians, like Native American Indians, they actually talk about that stuff all the time, shape shifting animals. But he was saying, like he said, that to him that would be more believable to believe than versus something that's outside of the human understanding of what is God, what is his voice, what did he look like. That's why if you take a look at how people examine religion, I mean the Christian Bible is written, you will see that they keep giving this God Yahweh in the Old Testament all these human like attributes, that he's jealous, he's hateful, he's revengeful, he loves, he grieves, he can repent, right? He can lose wars. And I know when people keep saying that God can do all things, I need you to go be back and read your Bible. He lost, I think, 2 wars in the Bible, right? But he was saying that, you know, he can understand that if somebody say they had a supernatural experience, like I died and I seen God and I seen the face of God. When I hear those testimonies all the time, I often ask some people, what did he look like, just to see if the God looked like them, right? To see if the God looked like how people think white Jesus look. You know, sometimes I do it just to see if they have a bias or did they have a unique experience, right? But I get it. He was saying that, you know, believing something outside of what's hard already for us to comprehend, right? That this is the universe, the God of the universe, versus somebody saying they send the shape shifting dolphin. It's probably more likely to believe in the shape shifting dolphin because that's something more. That's something we can comprehend. It's not too, you know, far fetched to believe that, right? It might be funny, but you know, we could comprehend that if we was to actually see that. But most of us wouldn't be able to comprehend if we saw the face of God and explain that to other people what his face looked like. I'm sure they're gonna, if they do see his face, he's gonna look like them or somebody they know, or some superior imagination they have in their mind of what they think God looks like, you know? So I get it.
Story sparked some doubts in Everett himself, but he still didn't give up trying to evangelize. Shape-shifting dolphin thing. Everett's inability to provide the level of evidence which the Pirahã needed to believe the gospel story sparked some doubts in Everett himself, but he still didn't give up trying to evangelize. He knew that people don't just accept Jesus because they believe he really died and really resurrected. They accept Jesus because they feel lost. They're lonely, depressed, they fear death, they want moral guidance, they want to see the world get better. Unfortunately, for Everett's mission, that is, the Pirahã were far from lost, broken, or immoral.
I realize they don't have a word for worry. They don't have any concept of depression. And they treat people very well. If someone does have any sort of handicap, and the only ones I'm aware of are physical, they take very good care of them. When people get old, they feed them. I remember this one guy, he was too old to get around. He couldn't hunt. I said, you know, does it bother you to give him food? I mean, he's not doing anything. And they said, when I was a little boy, he put food in my mouth and took care of me. And now he's an old man and I take care of him. They didn't store up food. They know how to smoke meat and they know how to salt meat, but they almost never do that. When they bring in meat, they give it away to everyone. And I said, don't you want to keep meat for tomorrow? He said, I keep my meat in my brother's belly. That's where I keep what I have. I store it with my friends.
And you see, very community, right? Taking care of each other, not a capitalist mindset, not hoarding resources, right? Y'all know how I feel about billionaires. I keep telling you it's unethical to be a billionaire, right? That's another Bible study. But how he said, I keep my meat in my brother's stomach. Everybody has what they need. Plentiful is plentiful. No need to hoard. Nobody's lacking, right? Nobody is outside begging for money in the tin can, like in this country, where a person might have mental health issues, physical issues, and if they're not in a state where have the resources to help them out, they're gonna be on the corner begging strangers for money, right? But in this community that the Christians believe needs saving, for they soul need to be saving, and they need to know that they're a sinner and they sinned against God, they're treating their brothers and sisters as if it's themselves. No one is lacking. Everybody is taken care of. There is no hierarchy. Men ain't over the women and the women ain't over the men. Rich ain't over the poor and the poor don't run. You feel what I'm saying? We be so quick to judge. based off our own experiences. But you have people living more meaningfully and simple lives on the other side, right? I just thought that was cool how they take care of them, each other.
In a big rainstorm in the Amazon, which is a pretty common occurrence, the Pirahã's flimsy little houses very often blow over at night, at 3 in the morning, and everybody's sopping wet. And what do you hear from them when this happens? Everybody's laughing. They think it's the funniest thing that ever happened. My house blew over. And so what do? They move into somebody else's house. In 2007, I took a team of people from Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Brain and Cognitive Sciences. And they went down to do some experiments. And while we were there, one of them, who was actually my first PhD student and now a full professor at MIT, said, "These seem like the happiest people I've ever seen in my life." And I said, "Yeah, well, how would you measure that? I think they are too, but when I tell people that, they say that's silly. So how would you measure whether they're the happiest people or not?" Well, as true psychologists, they said, we measure the time they spend smiling and laughing, and we measure the time that other cultures spend smiling and laughing, and that's probably not a bad indication. They said, as one of them said, I haven't looked at these people at any one time and not seen the majority of them looking happy. What are the lessons we can learn from the Pirahã? Well, for one thing, the Pirahã are happy without God. And that violates a lot of the predictions, not only of religious folks, but of anthropologists who believe that God is an essential ingredient of all cultures. That's false. There are cultures that get by just fine without any concept of God.
Daniel Everett realized that the Pirahã didn't need his Christian message or his God. He said publicly that they're far from perfect and that they would say as much themselves, but that they already possess all the virtues which Western religious people aspire to, but with none of the baggage of guilt or fear of hell. By the mid-1980s,
And again, this is how people who study this stuff, they know where these religions come from. Remember, I keep telling y'all, I know that it come from the imagination of a man's mind. Depending on whatever was lacking in the environment that they was in, God shaped that environment, right? If they needed a God to help them win wars, they had a tribal war like Yahweh, right? If they needed if they lived around the coastlines or whatever, they had Poseidon to help them pray to him so he can get fish and protect them from the marine animals when they in the boats and stuff. Whatever it is that these people was surrounded, the volcano gods, right? If volcanoes erupted and was wiping out a village, or people were afraid of the volcano, the god became scary, an angry god, right? It comes from the imagination. All the gods that came into existence, they function the same, right? Some of them eventually die out because science, proves otherwise. That, for example, Zeus and Thor is not throwing down lightning, right? And the God of the Bible, if he is controlling the lightning, well, he hates trees, because that's who get hit the most with lightning, is trees, right? But as science explained to us how lightning is generated through the electrical or magnetic fields, the electrons that's in the atmosphere, like once we have a basic knowledge of how these things work, the need for a God explanation is eliminated. It becomes obsolete. We don't need it anymore. That's why I keep telling people, once these people can prove what happens when you die, well, I don't know how they would prove that one day, but if it ever happens, right? If there's no fear of hell or no concept of hell, or when we pass away and stuff like that, Christianity is out, because the number one force of what drives that religion is the fear of hell, right? Just like Daniel, his whole motive of why he felt like God called him to go minister to those people, because he felt like they needed saving, right? He knew information that they didn't know that would improve their life, even though he went over there and found out that they didn't need anything. They was happy with what they had. They didn't lack anything, right? But save their soul. And in my mind, I'm like, what God would sit up there and what would come up with a system that people like the Pirahã people, who are like indigenous people that's deep in the Amazon jungle, that knowing that their ancestors are burning in hell because they have no idea that Jesus Christ is Lord, right? It ain't like Jesus showed up over there talking to them. that this message has to be spread by word of mouth, and that you have to take someone's word on it. And if you choose not to be a skeptic and you just take their word for it, then your reward is a paradise where you get to live in heaven and living in a mansion. But if you had a little bit of critical thinking skills or skepticism and you reject it and was like, nah, I'm not interested, you have to go and burn in hell for eternity for the rest of your life. Because you sinned against a God that you didn't even know exists or couldn't comprehend its existence. Because the only evidence he gave you was somebody else's words, right? A testimony, writings, belief. It's a terrible system. Regardless of people want to accept that or not, it's terrible, right? But imagine, that's why Daniel said he went over there. He was trying to save them. He felt like their soul was needed saving, right? He was on a mission from God, but the universes had their own mission, and this man wound up becoming an atheist after this experience. It's an amazing story.
Everett's doubts culminated into an epistemological crisis, and he realized that he was an atheist. He lived for over a decade in frightened denial, concealing the truth from his family. A lot of us have been there. Once he finally confessed, his marriage fell apart, and 2 of his children cut off contact with him for a significant amount of time. Everett has spoken quite strongly against colonialism, including his own actions, since the time of his mission. In 2009, he published his autobiography, Don't Sleep, There Are Snakes, in which he told this story. He's gone on to have a pretty incredible career.
That's the book that I told you I downloaded with Audible. I'm definitely going to do a review on it, but I'm going to listen to it the next time I have a long shift.
As a linguist, in large part because of his experience in the Amazon. With all the influence the Pirahã had on him, I hope that, along with his doubts, Everett also gained some of the happiness that the Pirahã clearly have in abundance. Now, as novel as this story first appears, it's not just a one-off anecdote. It's a part of a...
All right, I'm going to stop it there. Like, he's going to go into another... I encourage y'all to go watch the rest of this video, because he's gonna go into another story of people, tribal people, if I'm not mistaken, giving some skepticism towards the religion, and it's a nice little dialogue that he wound up playing back and forth from somebody who wrote a story about it. But I'm just going to stop it there. So, like I said, this can be fair use. Hopefully, he doesn't strike me. I'm a small channel, so I hope he doesn't. It's not like I'm going to make any money off of this. But I definitely just wanted to share that because coming across this guy's video made me go research. Like, well, who's the Pirahã people? Like, well, and why did they reject Jesus? Oh, okay, this is interesting, man. These people are some skeptics, right? They could critically think, you know. But all right, so I'm going to go ahead and play another video, and then like I said, I'm gonna go to Chat GPT and then I'm gonna wrap this up. But I was trying to find the TED Talk video of him talking. There you go. I'm gonna play a little bit of the TED Talk video of him talking about this experience.
We boarded up the fact it's called the Pirahã. I am a very happy failure. 40 years ago, I took off to the Amazon to convert a tribe of Indians called the Pirahã to Christianity. I was going to translate the Bible for them. I was going to tell them about the fact that they don't need to fear death, that they're going to go to heaven after they die, and contribute my life.
I'm going to speed this up just a little bit for the sake of time. I'm not going to double. I'm going to do 1.25 just for the sake of time.
In exchange for their happiness. That was my goal. So we boarded up this small Cessna single-engine aircraft in December of 1977, and I was going to go see these people for the first time. I had some anxiety. I was excited. I didn't know what I was going to find. And we took off, and 2 hours later, we landed on this small jungle strip in the middle of the Amazon, and the first thing that I realized was I was very airsick. We opened the plane doors, and we were surrounded by dozens of Pirahãs talking to us in a language that I couldn't make out a single syllable, asking me questions, pulling on me, and I picked up a stick off the ground, and I said, this is a stick. And they said, and I dropped it, and they said, he migit kalbe, and I was on my way to learning the language. As they started to show me around the village, one man pulled me by the arm, and he showed me a large rat, a 15-pound rodent, actually, called a paca, roasting on a fire. I could smell the hair, blood was still coming out of the mouth, and it sort of turned my stomach. This got me outside of my comfort zone very quickly. My idea of a good meal is white bread and chicken gravy, and eating a rat wasn't there. In fact, later that day, when I was putting mustard that I had brought from the city on a bologna sandwich, you can see I was adapting very slowly, a woman came up behind me and she said, look, Dan's eating bird shit. And I looked at the mustard and listened to the sound, and I could see where she got that impression. But when I turned to talk to her, her hand was full of a roasted rat head, and she was sucking the brains out. So she was grossed out by my food, and I wasn't terribly pleased by what she was eating. What I have found over the years is that information is hard to come by. New information is hard to come by. When we surround ourselves by people who look like us and talk like us and eat like us and think like us, there's very little room for additional learning. But when I was surrounded by the Pirahã, every single syllable I heard every day long was new information to me. It was a chance to learn. The language.
Of course, I'm gonna have to pause y'all so this can be fair use, but I definitely just real quick just want to speak on that. I love how he worded that. That when you surround yourself with people who think like you, and you're not gonna be able to learn anything new. It's either gonna agree with you or whatever. Like you're not gonna have experiences. And I think when I decided when I was deconstructing from Christianity and I knew that I didn't want to have nothing else to do with the religion, when I was actually just examining my faith of what I really wanted and what I felt like I needed from the universe to live out the rest of my life, I knew that I could, with atheism was something I would struggle with based off of my own personal experiences. But I was grateful when I understood the concept of omnism, especially when I found out it was something that my ancestors was into before they was, enslaved and colonization and the Abrahamic God was forced upon them. I kind of like that because I love learning different things from different tribes of people, cultures, groups. That's why I can basically hang out with anybody, right? Let's whatever you doing is causing harm. I can't get down with that because I'm an empath and I can't handle seeing people suffer. It actually affects me when I'm around suffering, right? Sometimes I get so down because I have to go decompress, right? So I take in, absorb a lot of that negative energy, so I do my best to guard myself from it. But I'm an empath, so it ain't really nothing I can do about it besides adjust, right? But me just having that natural humanist nature, I can't stand suffering, right? When I realized that, okay, well, I would love to learn the Hindu religion to see what it is that they believe in. What did they come up with these imaginations of gods? Buddhism, even though I keep telling y'all my favorite religion so far that I've had study is Buddhism, right? Because I love their different philosophies and concepts, and being that their religion is not centered around the supreme God. It's about you becoming enlightened and you realize that you are the universe, or you are the light within, you are God, right? You become enlightening, so you don't have to return back to the cycle and repeat these same lessons again, right? Because they believe in reincarnation. And even in their beliefs, gods die, right? So gods even have an expiration date. But that's like my favorite religion to study. Of course, I try to get into just learning a little bit of the folk religions that I can find in Africa, especially like the west coast of Africa, where I believe my ancestors are from. I love Native American, indigenous people stories about gods and their concept, because their gods are more centered around nature, right? Mother Earth, or the turtle that the world is sitting on the turtle's back. I actually think their religion is very poetic. It's beautiful, being I'm a natural nature girl, right? I love nature, right? But I realized even as an omnism, I mean, being an omnist, I was like, hey, that made sense. While I was willing to just explore, like, don't tie myself down to anything and never speak in absolute. I don't push omnism on anybody, right? And say you need omnism and get the fuck out of Christianity. Notice I'm an omnist. I tell people pray. The hell, I'm not gonna tell you to pray to Jesus. If your life suck, I don't have a better God to give you, and you feel like Jesus works for you, do what you need to do. But at the same time, if you try to use that religion to cause harm, I will be the balance. And I'm going to come up and let you know, hey, your religion is most likely false. So be humble, accept and accept the faith for yourself. But don't judge your neighbor, your brother, or your sister next to you who feel like that religion doesn't work for them. Let them be led by the universe and let them find a home. Everybody's not banking on fire insurance or afterlife insurance, right? Some of us really just want to live life because it's already hard. It's too much suffering here. And obviously your God don't give a fuck about suffering, because allegedly everybody is suffering because somebody ate a goddamn piece of fruit and the tree that he made in the garden. And they didn't have, they didn't have the knowledge of right and wrong, good or evil, right? Show you how much the story is bullshit when you break it down. But I try to be humble and it's like, hey, I'm not going to judge you on what you believe. I'm only going to judge you, right, if you using that belief to cause harm. I'm going to call you a hypocrite Christian if you over here trying to cyberbully me or defending another fucking cyberbully ass alleged Christian. I'm going to call you out on that. Your religion tell you you're not supposed to be acting like that, and you wonder why people don't want to fuck with your religion. You wonder why I often criticize it. It ain't mocking, it's just me being real, right? But when he said that, I love how he said, be like, you're not going to learn anything if you stay only within your one box. If it like, when there's plenty, like, I love the concept that all oceans lead to the, all rivers lead to the ocean. I love that concept because in my mind, that's how I see God. All of these different lanes that imagine that whatever the man can come up into his mind, any form of imagination, is still all connected because he's trying to, or he or she is trying to become one with the creator above, or something that they sense. Well, even though they're sensing themselves, you are the creator. That's the main underlying message behind a lot of these religions. That the God is within you, or the light, your soul, your consciousness of what made you you. You and yourself are not the same. You are the person within. You're not actually the body, right? The observer. But that's one thing I love. I was like, yeah, I don't have a problem going out and researching and finding out. That's why this story intrigued me. I never even heard of it. I wish I would have been knew this. I would have been covered this, right? I didn't get much views on it, but it's cool, right? Because I still just wanted to just like talk about it, and I'm gonna make more videos about it. I just thought these people, a small group of tribal people, very minimalist type life, not too many complications, not overthinking anything. They don't have no fears, no worries, no stress. I'm pretty sure they're not dealing with mental health as bad as we are in these Western cultures that we are, right? Because mental health is triggered by our diets and our environment and stress, right? Stress is a hell of a killer, right? That's why I try to reduce mine. I be like, I ain't gonna let my stress take me the fuck out of here. I just learned to be content with what I have. Start comparing myself among other people who gonna die with just like I'm gonna die one day, right? I just said I'm not gonna be chasing the bad. I'm not gonna be, whatever. I'm just not gonna be into that. Like, me becoming an entrepreneur was more of me saying, okay, well, let me do. I am in a relationship when I'm an adult and there's a family, and let me contribute. So this is the best way I said I can secure financial security for my family. But if me and Queen Ye was not together and I didn't have a stepchild, I would be probably living a nomadic life. Hell, I'd be probably living in a van life. I've been really interested in that when was doing some research, looking online, people who live in a van and they live off of just minimal stuff. I was very interested in that. But I'm in love. I love Queen Ye. Queen Ye ain't into that. Queen Ye likes to spend money, right? That's Queen Ye, right? But I'm in love with her and I love my family. I love my baby girl, right? My family is, I always wanted a family, and I, for the last 4 years, they've been my family. Baby girl lets me know I'm her family, right? It's my baby, right? So I'm just doing this just financially secure the family. But if it was just me alone, I would not be concerned who's making more money or who's jealous or who doing. I wouldn't give a fuck because it's not fulfilling to me. Only thing that I can tell y'all that I desire is to get closer to God, but not the God of the Bible, because I know that's not God. If that makes sense, that's the only thing I truly desire to just be enlightened and become one with my Creator. That's, I know it might sound weird to some of y'all, but that's what I deeply desire, to be at peace again, right? To make the world a better place, to get rid of suffering. I just want to be happy, right? But I don't want the other negative shit. That's why I try my hardest to stay away from it, if that makes sense. So, but truly, that's really what I want: tranquility. I don't care about material things. That shit is temporary. So, but like I said, I just like how he worded that, and I'm just being an open-minded person. I can sit amongst anybody and listen to them, and they sit them on their beliefs and listen to what they have to say. I love the teachings of the ancient Kemet, which I meditate to, right? But there is no right from wrong as long as you meditate. I get it. Kemet is a very interesting the teachings of what I've learned, especially when I used to watch Sinetta, and what I learned from the Jabari at the short time I got to interact with those guys. But out of all the biblical judgments, not biblical judgment, all the religious judgment, I tell people, Kemet, the judgment of Ma'at, weighing your heart against a feather, a ostrich feather, I think in some translations. That's one of my favorite ways that, hey, if you must be judged, that one is a lot more fair and just to me than a person who getting a scapegoat, using Jesus as a scapegoat. They come down here and live a hellish lifestyle, can rape kids and they murder and lie and steal and be a complete asshole here on earth. But they they use a get out of jail free card, Jesus blood, and they get to go to heaven, while the people who lack belief or rejected Jesus go to hell. I actually say I love the concept of my judging, right? Because your actions going to be judged based off of what's truly in your heart, what you hovered and how you live and how you act, right? That's why I kept saying I need to get a lot of that negativity out of my goddamn heart, right? So that's why I was like, I'm not engaging. Y'all can spend the rest of y'all life dying, tearing each other down. I'm not doing that. I'm gonna wish you the best, but I'm not playing that game. I'm not getting trapped in that matrix. We living in the scary matrix, but I'm not gonna get trapped in that one. So, but I love the story of the judgment of my eye. I think that judgment is more fair if there is a judgment in the afterlife. That one is more just than people getting a scapegoat, you know. And that religion pushes you to change. When you realize that you don't did more wrong than good, that will actually influence people to change. Versus a religion that tells them that they all fall short in all fall short of the glory, and God knows my heart. And as long as I believe in Jesus, I'm good. I hate that concept. It's not right. It's not fair, and it's not just. It doesn't even make sense. It sounds like some wicked people would make up to get away with their evil deeds, so people won't rebel against them. You know. But I would say we on the same page. I'm glad we on the same page, boo. So I don't listen to fools though. Frankie always be Frankie always gonna be filthy. But the most of what I remember from the Kemet is what I learned from Jabari, not Sinetta. What's up, Miss Shirley? Glad to know you in here, sis. Please hit that like button. Love you, love you, love you. So somebody out there, Chuck. I keep telling y'all not too many people gonna get close to this truck. Chop always gonna let me know somebody out there. Good boy, Chop. They ain't gonna get too close to this truck without me knowing you're close. Good boy, baby. Okay, now all right, that's hey, they gone.
Additional learning. But when I was surrounded by the Pirahã and talk like us, that information is hard to come by. New information is hard to come by. When we surround ourselves by people who look like us and talk like us and eat like us and think like us, there's very little room for additional learning. But when I was surrounded by the Pirahã, every single syllable I heard every day long was new information to me. It was a chance to learn. The language turned out to be one of the most unusual languages anyone has ever studied. It was my privilege to go there. I asked the word for skin, and I got awe. And I asked the word for ear, and I got awe. And I asked the word for hand, and I got awe. And I asked the word for Brazil nutshell, and I got awe. And then I asked the word for me, and I got che. And I asked the word for dog excrement, and I got che. I asked the word for enemy, eventually, and they said magiai. And so I said, how do I say friend? Magiai. The tones are vital to every vowel in the language. If you don't have the right tone, there's only two, high and low, you don't get the language. And because it has tones, it can be whistled, it can be hummed. Whenever they wanted to lose me, they just started whistling, and I couldn't follow what they were saying. I also learned that the language has a syntax, a grammar that's very different from any other grammar that's been studied. So, for example, I can say in English, you drink, you paddle your canoe, you may drown. But in Pirahã, you can only say, you drink, you paddle your canoe, you may drown. That sounds like a subtle difference, but it's caused all sorts of controversy in cognitive science to say that the people choose to talk like that. And then I started working on numbers, and I thought the number 1 was the word hue, and I thought the number 2 was the word hue, and I thought the word for many was bagiso. But it turns out that hue just means a few, hue means a few more, and bagiso means piling stuff on top of each other, a lot of stuff. People without numbers, not even the number 1. This was greeted with tremendous skepticism. Scientists came from Columbia University, Stanford, from MIT, and they did all sorts of experiments to try to prove me wrong. But in fact, that's the way the Pirahã are. And the first language ever documented without numbers was found. It showed us a different way of thinking. It showed us how extensive the parameters of the
I thought that was very unique too, because most linguists claim that every culture has a mathematical sense of that, like how they measure time, quantity, and whatever. And Daniel said he came across a tribe that they didn't have a system. They didn't have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like how we are a numeric sequence like we do, right? They did not have that. Not that they didn't comprehend it, it's just they didn't have it. You know, they had add some, add few, add palette on a lot. You know, they taught like that. But I think that these people language is very unique. It definitely is obvious that it's shaped around their life experiences of what they've evolved to over time and where they lived, where they came from, or where they originated from. I just thought I thought it was a very unique language. That the way that their language is mostly around describing, they compare things to each other. Like one example that he gave, that if something was clear, they don't have the concept of the word colors like blue, red, orange like we do. They compare it to something that they already witnessed. So they'll say something is blue, like they won't say blue, they'll be like, that's the color of the ocean. Or the water, if the water is clear, it's the color of water, right? So I thought that was a very poetic like way of describing. They didn't actually label everything. Everything was compared to nature based off of what evidence that they observed, what it looked like. You know, they didn't make up things. I thought that was unique.
Human experience are, and how many lessons there are to learn from people very unlike ourselves. The words for color. You know, my hair used to be red, and they told me that it was ibisai. So I put that down as red, and then I found something that was black, and they said kopayai, and something that was white, and they said kobiai. But then I noticed they changed the words very frequently. And finally I realized these aren't even words, these are descriptions. They might say my skin is transparent, or you can see through it, or they might say that my hair looks like blood, or they might say that the color of the river is the color of not being ripe. They use different ways to describe different things. And I started to link these things to a single principle, which I call the immediacy of experience principle, which is not that they can't think about the past or they can't think about the future, but they prefer not to talk about things in the distant future and the distant past for which there is no evidence. So, for example, one day I said, so who created the world? This is a good missionary question. And they said, what do you mean? I said, there were no trees. Somebody made the trees. You were there when there were no trees? You've seen the jungle without trees? How old are you? And
I like that. It's just funny. Like when you think about, because they really don't have this complex way of thinking. Everything is simple to them. So, well, somebody created the trees because it wasn't no trees. Well, you were there when there were no trees. My gosh, how old are you? You know what I'm saying? Because it's always been trees from their understanding, right? But that is a good question. Even with being scientists, I mean, we have our theories. We don't know if there was never ever no trees. We just assume it is because we believe things were created because we cannot create trees and mountains and stuff, whatever. But we really don't know where it came from, or has it always been here? We really don't know. We're assuming, guessing, right? But I love how they challenged them on that. It was like, dang, you were alive when there were no trees. How old are you, bro? Like. But it's the ultimate skepticism. Like I thought it was crazy. Just like it reminded me when I kept questioning old boy who was in my live yesterday. Were you there? You was there when they was documenting what God was saying to Moses, or what Moses wrote down to believe, or are you just believing in campfire stories like I keep telling you they are? There's no evidence of none of this stuff happening. You don't even have the original writing of the first time they wrote it down and claimed that these events happened. You go on by hearsay, word of mouth. And if you ever played the game telephone, the human testimony or word of mouth is the worst source. They embellish and add and take away shit all the time. And by the time it gets back to you, it's a totally different story from what it started with. I used to love playing that game as a kid. We learn how simple misinformation can get spread based off of one word changing, and it'd be a complete different statement. So that's how I feel about the Bible. I know that they don't have the original manuscripts. These people know that there are errors in the copies. So if there is mistakes in the copies, then what is it you're comparing to know which copy has the correct translation? They don't. They know the language died. They don't have no idea what those words mean. They just be making shit up. So, but I like how a very simple minded, not overthinking, not overcome. And you see how they outwitting him with these little questions, like kill shot. I like to call them kill shots. But they had valid points. Well, how can you say there were no trees if you weren't there?
Missionary question. And they said, what do you mean? I said, there were no trees. Somebody made the trees. You were there when there were no trees? You've seen the jungle without trees? How old are you? And so it turns out they don't believe anything was ever created. They don't have a concept of God. There's no need for him in their system. And as a missionary, I was talking to them a lot about Jesus. So one day, a group of men came in and they said, hey, Dan, so Jesus, did he look more like us or did he look more like you? I said, well, some people said he looked more like me and other people said he looked more like you. Yeah, but you've seen him. So what does he look like? I said, well, actually, I've never seen him, but your father saw him. No, my dad never saw him either. Well, who saw him? I said, nobody. He's lived a long time ago. Well, if he lived a long time ago and nobody saw him, why are you telling us about him? And it occurred to me that all the evidence that I had accumulated in Bible school and all my prayers and all my activity as a Christian didn't hold up to the evidentiary requirements of this group of a few hundred hunter-gatherers in the Amazon. They weren't convinced by this at all. So finally one day they came in and they said, hey, Dan, we like you, but we don't want any Jesus. We don't want to know about this stuff. It's okay for Americans. They like to believe that stuff, but Pirahã don't believe that stuff. And so I had to focus on other things. And what I had gone there to do was to tell them about no fear of death. But then it turns out they're not afraid of death. Death is just a natural part of life. So I wanted to help them learn how to be happy. But when I took researchers from MIT there, they said, these must be the happiest people on earth. And I said, well, how would you study that? And they said, well, we just measure the time they spend smiling and laughing. I bet it's more than anybody else. So I had no happiness to offer them. I had no fear of death. So I tried to talk to them about a judgment and how to live. And the most important commandment among the Pirahã is don't tell anybody else what to do. everybody does. Life's hard enough. Just live your life the best you can. So that didn't work either. And eventually I came to the realization if it doesn't work for them, it probably shouldn't be working for me. And I became an atheist. So the only convert I ever got, my only convert was me.
I really like that, how he had to come, that revelation came to him. How you spend your life telling other people how to live. When the light world is hard enough as it is for your brother or your sister. But when people try to speak in absolute, when they try to push faith as facts, even though it sounds foolish when you break it down, right? Living your life off of a possibility versus accepting what you just do know and be open to whatever you don't know, right? But I like how he like how their skepticism led this man, a Christian, a missionary who went over there to try to save them, and they wind up freeing his mind, right? Very simple. I mean, you'd be surprised where you find wisdom. Mother Nature is a very unique concept. A group of people who's in tune with their environment, with nature, living off the jungle, letting the earth like take care of them. They're not up here causing wars. They don't have the desires to conquer other tribes, like the who people want to take over the world, push their regard on people, to hoard resource so they can be wealthy and other people, live in poverty. No desires to do none of that, just living in harmony with themselves. And with simple basic questions of them saying, look, we don't care about this Jesus thing. Like, we don't want to hear about it no more. Just, if y'all want to believe in it, that's fine. But we have no reason to. There's not even no evidence to believe. We're just not going to take your word for it. That's not how culturally we are. That's not how our people live, based off of facts. And I thought that was a very kill shot, logical reason to reject Jesus. It wasn't even nothing emotional, right? Or a dick measuring contest to see whose God is more powerful. They didn't come to Daniel and say, well, we believe in the Pirahã God, and he's the true creator, and he's been taking care of us, or she's been taking care of us, and our God can beat your God, and let's measure to see which God is real. They didn't come at him like that. They was like, because of lack of evidence, we rejecting your God. And we're actually fine. You haven't given us a good reason to want to pray and worship and do these things that we're not familiar with doing, right? Very happy people. Don't need much, didn't lack much, right? Just loved their community and took care of each other. I think it's cool. I think it's very cool. Beautiful people. If you look at even the way they smile, people ain't stressed, right? They good. But I like how they shut his ass down. Now I see why the last video I played, why the dude named the video "Why Christians Hate Indigenous People," right? And I made my video "Why the Pirahã, why I keep calling Peter, is it Pirahã? Why the Pirahã people rejected Jesus, right? And they did it based off of logic, skepticism, intelligence. That's gonna go over a lot of y'all heads, but that shit poof, blew my mind. It's actual a very logical reason, and it's the reason why any other Christian that might come across my video and feel some type of way, that it's the same reason why you are rejecting the other gods. Whatever the critical thinking skills you do have is the reason why you don't believe in other gods that you were not introduced to, because no one convinced you, because of lack of evidence. The reason why you believe in Christianity, because it was taught. You are indoctrinated. You did not believe based off of evidence. You were groomed. Most of us as children, culturally. But if you lived in the Amazon amongst the Pirahã people, you would be an atheist. They atheists, If you was born there, you would be less stressed, you'd be happy, eating off the land, laughing and joking with your friends, and lacking a belief in God. That's the difference between you being born in America versus if you was born in the Amazon, living among the Pirahã people. I think that's very. I think that's very unique. I think that's an amazing concept. I'm glad I became an omnist. I take, like I said, I'll take God as a buffet any day versus Jesus being the only true, the light in the way with no evidence of that. Just because people are confident when they say it because they read it in a book, it made them feel good, so they speak it with confidence. They try to reassure you the more they believe that it works. But as you can see, they die too. They suffer too. They children get assaulted. True, I played that in my video yesterday. Nobody Holy Ghost Spirit let them know that the pastor was abusing a child. So it doesn't protect you. Your kids pass away just like the non-believer kids pass away. There's no benefits that people can prove besides you guys are cashing. Y'all have a lottery ticket called fire insurance that you believe this is going to secure your place in a paradise and an afterlife that you are not even sure actually really exists or not. You don't really know if it's real or not. You just believe. But there's no proof of heaven or hell. And if you don't believe me, go do some research on near death experiences. And guess what? Nobody's story is the same. The only main thing that they seem to have in common, a lot of them just keep seeing a damn light. Some people see Judah. I mean, some people see Jesus. Some people see Allah. Some people see Krishna. Some people see their ancestors. Some people see Orishas. Some people see the universe. I interviewed a guy named David Williams. He ain't see God, but he's seen himself in the universe, outside of space and time. And then I also interviewed people who had near-death experience and said they was in complete darkness. Even people's concept when they think they came near to the end of life, near death, their stories ain't even that similar. I mean, completely similar to it can be documented as facts. They might have some similarities, but they not like completely similar. If that makes sense, what I'm saying. So everybody's not seeing the same thing. It seems like whatever they see is based off of whatever they previously was believing before they became when they was just having a near death experience. So
So I'm a failure. There are no Pirahã believers. There's no church. They don't. None of that stuff worked. But I learned a lot about language, so I decided maybe there was some useful profession I could enter. So I became a linguist and an anthropologist, and began trying to understand their culture in even greater detail, and realizing that new information is, again, as I've said, hard to come by. If you sit in a room with people who look just like you, who are your gender, who are your age, your economic background, the chances of getting really new information are minimal because everybody already agrees. It's like a famous philosopher friend of mine said once, I don't read anything because if they disagree with me, they're wrong, and if they agree with me, I already knew that. Often that's the way we think until somebody forces us to think differently. So how can we possibly bring newness to our life? How can we, without going to the Amazon, transform our experience and our relationship to the world in such a way that we open channels of new information? Many computer scientists define learning as changed behavior after exposure to new information. So where do we get this new information? Well, one suggestion is, especially in a place like Philadelphia, look around you and find people different from yourselves.
My fault, y'all. I gotta go check on something real quick. I'll be right back.
Talk to Am when you go to school. Tell your friends. Talk to him when you go to church. Tell your family. Talk to him.
Tell them what you know. I'm Tootie, get it right. T-T-T-I-E, that's right. Neo X in the building tonight. If you got something to say, put it on the mic. The way I talk to him, make him put it on the mic. The way I talk to him, make him put it on the mic. The way I talk to him, make him put it on the mic.
Talk to him. Talk to him. Tell him what you know. Talk to him.
Like I'm Neo X, y'all listening to the best. I told Tootie I'm in the building, you know what that means, the shit is over. Next, shout out to the Midwest, still the greatest. Come through and I'm dressed like the latest. Your man wanna date us, but that's just the cadence. I only said it so you could replay this.
Talk to him. Talk to him. Talk to him. Tell him what you know. When you go to school, tell your friends. Talk to him. When you go to church, tell your family. Talk to him. Tell him what you know.
Tell 'em all
Talk to Am when you go to school. Tell your friends. Talk to him when you go to church. Tell your family. Talk to him.
Tell them what you know. I'm Tootie, get it right. T-T-T-I-E, that's right. Neo X in the building tonight. If you got something to say, put it on the mic. The way I talk to him, make him put it on the mic. The way I talk to him, make him put it on the mic. The way I talk to him, make him put it on the mic.
Talk to him. Talk to him. Talk to him. Tell him what you know. Talk to him.
Like I'm Neo X, y'all listening to the best. I told Tootie I'm in the building, you know what that means, the shit is over. Next, shout out to the Midwest, still the greatest. Come through and I'm dressed like the latest. Your man wanna date us, but that's just the cadence. I only said it so you could replay this.
Talk to him. Talk to him. Talk to him. Tell him what you know. When you go to school, tell your friends. Talk to him. When you go to church, tell your family. Talk to him. Tell him what you know.
Tell 'em all
My fault, y'all. I had to go take care of something real quick, boy. My phone. I ain't even. Somebody was trying to call me. It was an important call, but I ain't hear my phone ring. But dang, look, my hat all messed up. Hold on. Whew. Need to retwist, y'all. All right, my bad. We go ahead and finish up this video. But yeah, so All right, so yeah, so make sure I turn it up this time. That's crazy. I ain't hear my phone ring at all. All right, but I don't know where I left off at. I'm gonna go and let the video play. And then, like I said, I'm gonna play a little bit of Chat GPT. And I'm gonna end the video.
Make friends of different genders, of different sexual orientations, but especially make friends with families. And one thing I suggest to people, you don't have to travel outside the United States. Find a family that's willing to tolerate you for a week and go live with them for a week and live under their rules and taste their food. And more than taste their food, learn to like it. And if they're from a different religion, learn to respect how they believe and understand how they believe. So you're not just a tourist in their home, you're actually living in their home by their rules. I had to do this for the very first time with the Celtal Indians of southern Mexico. My family, we went to live with the Celtals. We spent several nights with them. We had sleeping on the dirt floors. We had rats running around. We had all sorts of experiences we hadn't imagined. But at the end of the time, we learned to respect them and their beliefs. They learned a little bit more about us. Of course, the food wasn't a problem with the Celtals because they're descendants of the Mayas and they eat tortillas, black beans, and chilies. And that is my favorite food in the world. So that wasn't terribly a challenge. But then when we look around us and think about corporations and governance and how we can bring this kind of newness into our lives, take a look at the typical boardroom, and if everyone around that board table looks the same, you can bet that this is not going to be an innovative company. If you look at college admissions, if most of the people coming in are young white males, there's not going to be a lot of innovation there. Diversity is essential to ensure for every one of us new information, a constant flow, and a constant challenge. It's too often we all feel like missionaries. We want to go out and change the world, when in fact, we have to begin as students, and not only begin as students, but spend the most of our life with students. I find that the smartest people I know are among the best listeners, the people who cultivate relations with people unlike themselves. So the Pirahã changed my life. I'm a failure as a missionary. I'm a mediocre scientist, but I have learned a tremendous amount through the eyes of the Pirahã, who call themselves Hiaiche, the straight ones. And we are all Awe, which means crooked. So they're ethnocentric. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I just think this man's story is just wow. I think it's unique. I just think, I mean, like I said, I'm gonna review his book. And then do a commentary based off the book. So but you gotta be willing to examine things outside of what you've been taught. The world is just, it's not black and white. It really isn't. The world is a palette of colors. Like, you can't absolutely be that arrogant to believe that you know everything, that you have the knowledge, the wisdom of everything that ever came into existence, everything that does exist. You just cannot. I refuse to live my life like that. That's why I'm open to learning different experiences. That's why when the dude who one of the guys that was in the chat educated me about something that I wasn't completely understanding about Islam. But you got to be open to people teaching you, right? I just refuse to be arrogant or acting like I know everything or there's nothing beyond my belief. I'm too open-minded, right? I'm very open, not too open-minded. I'm very open-minded. I know there's different layers to this, right? I know my knowledge is only limited, but I surround myself with other a way of people thinking, other concepts and beliefs and stuff, so I can get the bigger picture, right? That's just me. That's how I choose to live. So, all right. So let me play a little bit of what Chat GPT broke down when I went to just do a basic research on Daniel's experience with the Pirahã tribe, and then we're gonna call it a day. All right. So I just simply asked ChatGPT, why did the Pirahã people reject Jesus? And I'm just gonna do a quick breakdown of this, and then I'm gonna wrap this up, y'all. Call it a day.
The story you're thinking of comes from linguist and former missionary Daniel Everett, who lived with the Pirahã people in the Amazon rainforest. His experience is often cited because the Pirahã didn't just ignore Christianity, they actively questioned it in a very logical way. Here's the real reason they rejected the message about Jesus. #1. They only trust direct experience image. Pirahã culture is built around a strict principle. Open quote, if you haven't personally seen or experienced something, or heard it from someone who has, they don't accept it as real. Close quote. So when Everett told them about Jesus, they asked, have you seen him? Everett said no, because Jesus lived 2,000 years ago. That was basically the end of it for them. From their perspective, you're asking them to believe in something with zero firsthand evidence. 2. They don't focus on distant past or abstract history. The Pirahã live almost entirely in the present moment. They don't emphasize ancient history. They don't build belief systems around long timelines. They care about what's happening now, not thousands of years ago. So a story like, open quote, a man lived long ago, performed miracles, and rose from the dead, close quote, doesn't carry weight in their worldview. 3. They questioned the logic directly. Instead of blindly accepting, they challenged Everett with simple but powerful questions. Did your father see him? Did anyone you know see him? Why should we believe something no one here has seen? That kind of questioning exposed the gap between faith-based belief and evidence-based belief. 4. They already felt complete without religion. The Pirahã didn't see themselves as needing saving, didn't have a concept of sin the same way Christianity does, lived in a way they considered meaningful and sufficient, so Christianity wasn't solving a problem they believed they had. 5. Ironically, they influenced him. Over time, Everett said their skepticism and way of thinking actually led him to question his own beliefs, eventually leave Christianity altogether. So instead of converting them, they ended up deconstructing his faith. The deeper takeaway. This wasn't about ignorance. It was about a completely different standard for truth. Christianity, faith plus testimony, scripture. Pirahã, direct evidence, lived experience. They didn't reject Jesus emotionally. They rejected the method of belief. If you want
All right. So just to break it down, what ChatGPT said into segments. Again, I thought it was just like, I think the Pirahã people. You said that's my philosophy. Unless someone can show me God or Jesus, that cannot be reality. Hey, it works for the Pirahã, and they've been surviving just fine, right? You know how some people who people who tend to evangelize and men tend to go knock on people's doors and participate in missionary work. One thing they try to push, that Jesus is going to you know cast all your fears upon him, cast all your burdens, all your anxiety, and you don't have to worry about anything, and you're safe and you're gonna be protected and all that stuff. And the Pirahã people, as you can see, they don't want for anything, so they don't have desires to like need protection or be grateful for the food that they're getting. The jungle that they live in is providing everything, right? They don't lack anything, so they don't need to come up with an imaginary god to say that to gain favor from them, right? And I like how Chat GPT broke it down, was saying that, hey, it's not even that they just rejecting Jesus, it's how belief systems come about, period, right? The same logic of why Christians ignore or reject other people's religion based off of lack of evidence is the reason why they reject it, or any atheist rejecting these different religions, right? I just have a deeper philosophy behind it that feel like I truly feel like these religions come into existence as a way of growth as we evolve. I think it's a part of evolution. You know, some people have been challenging me on that. I understand why they challenge me on that, but that's truly how I feel. I think that the religious stuff helps with our intelligence, us growing, to becoming more involved, beings or whatever. Um, but that's another Bible study. I don't want to go too far trying to explain that. But let me see. Let me just go see. They only trust direct experiences. According to Chat GPT, just like Daniel said in his book, that there's no evidence of Jesus. He didn't convince them. They even like laughed at him when they realized that he believed without evidence. And from their perspective, they was like they just you're asking them to believe in something that has zero firsthand evidence, right? And it makes sense. Like, the reason why Christians don't believe in Allah and Krishna and anything else outside of Christianity, because there's no firsthand evidence that this guy is the God of the universe, right? Why and they what else? Number two, what we at? Okay, they don't focus on distance past or abstract history, right? The Pirahã they almost live entirely in the present. Y'all don't make fun of me today with my speech impediment. They don't emphasize on ancient history. They don't really care about none of that stuff. They don't build a belief system around a long timeline. They just live in the present. And like I said, it remind me of Buddhism. So how they teach you to live in the present. Don't worry about the past nor the future, but live in the present moment. They question the logic directly. Instead of blindly accepting, they challenge Everett with simple but powerful questions, right? They were skeptics, right? Did your father see him? Did anyone see him? Why would we believe something that no one has seen, right? That kind of questioning exposes the gap between faith-based beliefs and evidence-based belief, right? Big difference. They already felt complete without religion. They didn't have the desire of Jesus making them whole, Jesus complete them. They was a wretched before Jesus came and saved them. They don't have that. Never would have made it. Like how black people come up with, we perceive God here in America different than how the white man perceive God in America. Um, we are so dependent on God ordering our steps and blessing us, and that we're nothing without Him. I think it's crazy when you really just deeply examine the Christian faith, how this religion just degrades you for coming into existence, right? Like imagine accepting a religion that starts off by telling you that you're nothing but filthy rags. You're scum. You're beneath God. You're nothing compared to the Creator. Like even when they talk about the story of Job, when Job was like crying out and asking God why this stuff was happening to him, and they said that according to the story, God responded like, "Where were you in the beginning when I was created in this? Like I'm all powerful. You're nothing. Like I made you. Like it's like it's so narcissistic." And it doesn't really make sense because did we ask to come into existence? Like that, how does that work? That's like when your parents. I used to hate when parents do that, like make it seem like the child is obligated to just be grateful for whatever they doing for them, and the kid looking at you like you and dad had sex, and that's why I'm here. Right? You procreated. Don't act like I called you from heaven. Is like make me. You get what I'm saying, or like you did me a favor. You know what I'm saying? Now people should have a level of respect for parents, but not to the point that it should. I mean, I believe respect should be earned, right? But sometimes people take that authority figure and they just do too much. Like a religion that telling you that you're nothing and you need saving and you're and you're dumb and you ain't gonna never be able to follow these laws that I made for you, even though your ancestors agreed to follow them, but they can't really do it because you're not capable of doing good. And you curse, right? And I said, I'm never following any more religion that degrades me or speak down or to make me feel like I'm worthless and I need a God when I'm sensing there's a God within, right? Pretty much just how I feel. So I like how the Pirahã, like they didn't need God. They didn't need somebody to say cast all your anxieties on Jesus. They ain't have no anxiety, right? They're not perfect, but they don't struggle with the things we struggle with today. If that makes sense, right? So I thought that was unique. That you know they didn't see no benefit in believing in Jesus because they didn't lack anything. They meet their needs or what they wanted were being met. So they didn't see themselves as needing saving. They're not afraid to die. They didn't have a concept the same way Christians does. They live as a way that they consider meaningful and significant, right? So Christianity wasn't going to solve any problems that they were having, and they saw right through that. So ironically, they influenced, Daniel on part 5. Over time, Everett said that the skepticism and way of thinking actually led him to question his own belief, eventually leave Christianity altogether. So instead of converting him, they ended up deconstructing his faith. And mind you, they ain't proved that the Bible had no contradictions in it. They didn't go show him the historical and archaeological facts were inaccurate, right? They didn't even go that deep. They defeated this man's faith by just using their common sense and critical thinking skills. And they're not the most advanced race in the country. Some people would frown upon them and think that they're savages because they live in little club huts and little structures made out of palm trees and grass and stuff. People will look upon them as unintelligent, and because the people who send rockets to the moon is intelligent, even though they believe in a God with no evidence, right? This man got defeated over the people who live the most simple life, who don't overcomplicate being alive, and converted him. I mean, not converted him, but had him deconstruct his whole faith, questioning everything because they were questioning what he believed. So, but all right, like I said, I got his book um on Audible. I'm gonna review some more of his book. Any more information I come across about the Pirahã people, I'm gonna talk about it. But I just thought this was something I definitely want to share with my audience. And of course, I'm gonna be bringing this up again, finding more information and finding other indigenous tribes that rejected the Christian religion, right? So, but with that being said, family, remember your life is your holy book. And I just catch y'all in the next one, right? We are the Resistance family. Decode the darkness. Okay, we're gonna escape this scary matrix. But but yeah, I catch y'all in another one. Peace. I gotta go. I'm waiting for somebody to call me back because I missed a couple of phone calls. But hopefully I can get in contact with them. I don't know why I did not hear my phone ringing. That is crazy. So the story of Job is truly sad. A guy having a bet with himself, Satan. We could decode. Maybe I'll decode the story of Job. I'm gonna probably put that on one of the list of things I want to do next. But maybe we can do. I'm gonna do a show decoding the story of Job, and let's really examine the God of the Bible, narcissistic traits. So, but all right, family, peace. I'm just trying to find um one of my songs or something. Oh, I know which one I'm gonna play. Mm-mm-mm. And again, if you have any hypes, I know they give you 3 a week. If you have any more hypes left, make sure you hype the video. If you can't hype it, still like it. That helps. Um, and we're gonna just keep it moving, okay, family? But I appreciate y'all coming in. So really do. Love you, love you, love you. All right. Peace. Catch you in the next one.
They told me, chase the light. Pray harder, smile bigger, think positive, bury the pain. Dress it up in pretty affirmations and call it healing. But nobody told me what happens when the darkness don't stay buried. See, I try to be light. Ooh, I try. I wore peace like a costume, spoke love through clenched teeth, called myself healed, while my shadows screamed in silence. Jealousy, tucked behind I'm just observing. Anger, dressed up as righteous truth. Fear, hiding under I'm just being cautious. And the whole time, I thought I was evolving, but I was just avoiding. Because enlightenment ain't about pretending you glow, it's about admitting what still burns. It's not halos and high vibrations. It's sitting in the parts of you you don't want nobody to see. It's saying, yeah, that was me. I did that. I felt that. I ain't proud of it, but I'm not running from it either. That's the work. Not imagining angels, but confronting the demons that learned your name. Because your shadow, it don't disappear, it just waits for a moment of weakness to take the wheel. And if you don't face it, you become it. So I stopped chasing light and I started asking questions. Why does that trigger me? Why do I need validation? Why does silence make me uncomfortable? Why do I react? Before I reflect, that's when I realized the darkness wasn't my enemy, it was my teacher. Every flaw, a lesson, every wound, a map, every ugly truth, a doorway to something real. See, anybody can pretend to be healed, that's easy. But it takes strength to sit with yourself when there's no audience, no filters, no lies, just you. And everything you've been avoiding hits lightning. Not perfection, but awareness. Not escape, but confrontation. Not I am only light. But I see all of me, and I'm still standing. Because the real glow don't come from ignoring the darkness. It comes from walking through it, eyes open and saying, I see you, I understand you, but you don't control me anymore. That's power. That's truth. That's awakening.